Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the book of Haggai today by reading chapter 2, verses 10 through 19. So, Haggai is prophesying to the returnees, telling them it's time for them to rebuild the temple. They laid the foundations, and then 17 years later, they haven't finished it. And they are obedient to that. But as they're rebuilding it, Haggai comes back 6 weeks later, and God has another word to the old men who are underwhelmed by what's about to take place. And when we talked yesterday, we said that he promised them that the future glory was going to be greater than the former glory. And of course, we also pointed out yesterday that the only way God can keep the promise that he makes is if we see that fulfillment in us, in the church, as the temple of God. Today, in verses 10 through 19, we have the third oracle, and it and the fourth oracle are evidently dated on the same day of the month. They are, verses 10 and 20. And we're looking at the date, December the 18th, in the year 520, December the 18th. So we're like 4 months ahead of the very first oracle. And verses 10 through 19 are so unique and enigmatic in that, it's kind of hard to know exactly what prompted this. And there are so many interpretations about what is being said, but I think they all arrive at the same place. He's going to give the priests. This is not addressed to Joshua as high priest or Joshua and Zerubbabel, but to the priests as a group. And he's going to give them a logic problem and ask them to solve this logic problem and then to apply the answer. And I really do think we're arriving at the place that Jesus is at when he teaches us in Matthew chapter 15 that it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out of a man that defiles him. And so anyway, we have this this question about cleanness and uncleanness. Let's read chapter 2, verses 10 through 19. On the 24th of the 9th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, the word of the Lord came to Haggai the prophet, saying, Thus says the Lord of hosts, ask now the priests for a ruling. If a man carries holy meat in the fold of his garment, and touches bread with this fold, or cooked food, wine, oil, or any other food, will it become holy? And the priest answered and said, No. Then Haggai said, If one who is unclean from a corpse touches any of these, will the latter become unclean? And the priests answered, It will become unclean. So this is the point God is making. Cleanness is not transferable. Uncleanness is transferable. So my holiness, I can't give you some of my holiness to make you holy if you're not wanting to be holy yourself. But my sin can quite easily involve you as well. I can involve you in my sin quite easily. So uncleanness or holiness is not transferable, but uncleanness is quite easily transferred. Okay, so this is the point he's going to make. Verse 14. Haggai answered, So is this people, and so is this nation for me, declares the Lord, and so is every work of their hands, and what they offer there is unclean. But now, do consider from this day onward, before one stone was placed on another in the temple of the Lord, from that time when one came to a grain heap of 20 measures, there would be only 10. And when one came to the wine vat to draw 50 measures, there would only be 20. I smote you and the work of your hands with blasting wind, mildew, and hail, yet you did not come back to me, declares the Lord. Do consider from this day onward, from the 24th day of the 9th month, from the day when the temple of the Lord was founded, consider, is the seed still in the barn? Even including the vine, the fig tree, the pomegranate, the olive tree, it has not borne fruit. Yet from this day on I will bless you. Or from this day on I will bless or give blessing. I don't know. I don't know what this is describing, but I do know what this is about. This is like the book of Revelation. This is like all those times that Paul answers a question, but we don't know what the original question is. And so we're left looking for the theme, the value, the foundational truth that he's sharing and applying. And we're applying that truth to our situation. And that's what we're left to do here, because I don't know exactly what's going on here. But I do know this. He's made this point because something is wrong about their offering. He's brought judgment upon them for a reason. And if they change their ways, which they are changing their ways, then he will bless them. So the cause and effect is established. And also what is established is the fact that one person cannot transfer their holiness to another person. All of Israel suffered from the sin of Ai, from the sin of Achan. They had brought down the most fortified city on earth, Jericho, but then they got clobbered by the village of Ai because of Achan's sin. So in a way, sin pollutes everything around it. It pollutes just the atmosphere. But one can still be holy in a sinful world. But I can't take my holiness and apply it to you. Your holiness has to be your own before God. Those facts are the facts that are being communicated in this passage, although we don't know exactly what was going on that prompted this oracle or what steps had to be taken to please God. We do know that the oracle was delivered and that God expects to be satisfied because he promises blessing in verse 19. Okay. Another oracle on the same day about the glorious future they're going to have. We'll look at that next time. Thank you for joining me.